I've speedrun quite a few games, from Zelda's Breath of the Wild to A Link to the Past, down to Pokemon's Red and Blue Origins, up through a full tour of FromSoft's library. My time spent has given me tremendous admiration for the craft. Learning a game's crazy tech, honing your skills from slow to blazing fast, and mastering it all through an arduous grind is a fulfilling journey time and time again. I found myself missing the challenge, and so I'd like to embark on a mission to speedrun as many games as possible, providing entertaining breakdowns and improving my ability as a runner along the way. It's been a hot minute since I've gone supersonic though. Naturally, it would make sense to ease myself back into the hobby, or I could dunk myself into a tank of the hardest speedrun I've ever completed. Sekiro Shadows Die Twice is FromSoft's gold standard of precision. The demanding deflection dance against formidable foes is daunting casually. Imagine asking yourself to go from game start to besting the Sword Saint in under an hour, without glitches mind you, ensuring you're unable to skip the notable hurdles along the way. That's not to say you won't be beelining it through solely what's mandatory, meaning you'll end the run with barely over half the attack upgrades, a single gourd charge, and only a single optional upgrade to HP and posture out of a possible 10. By the time you're halfway to severing immortality, most attacks one-shot you. A single lapse in focus can end your run like that. I gave myself 24 hours of runtime to achieve a sub 1 hour in this trial of perfection. This is the Sekiro Immortal Severance Glitchless speedrun. My speedrun prep wouldn't have been possible without the help of today's sponsor, Opera GX, my choice of internet browser. Opera crushes Chrome in efficiency with GX control, enhancing performance while PC gaming by reducing stress on your CPU and RAM. That's perfect for keeping a billion Souls wiki tabs at the ready, unlike Chrome, which eats resources like Gale on a Dark Souls binge. Opera features a sidebar with all the gaming necessities like Discord and Twitch. If you want to tune into your favorite artists, that sidebar features Spotify, so you too can mix up your speedrun playlist. Take it a step further with GX mods, putting browser customization at your fingertips, with background music, keyboard sounds, sounds for opening and closing tabs, browser themes and colors, and dedicated wallpapers. All of this and more is available in the GX store and easily toggleable on and off via the aforementioned nifty sidebar. Join the symphony of gamers surfing the web via Opera GX today with my link in the description. Your greatest adversary in the tutorial is gravity. With no prosthetic and sprinting disabled, you must reach Kuro with limited mobility. On top of being sluggish, you've got reduced HP, no healing, no resurrections, and no sword. Your options are siphoned intentionally to force a stealthy approach, tutorializing covert mechanics. What Miyazaki didn't expect was for us to jump kick our way into the hornet's nest. Jumping gives you greater momentum than walking, with a secondary air kick speeding up your descent to the ground. Spamming this on repeat is significantly faster than walking, with the added benefit of throwing off the aim of the only true danger, snipers, well, most of the time. The world record even uses lock-on for longer sideways hops to save a few seconds, though this is much harder to control. After hopping to Kuro's room and praying you don't get dono-walled, you can skip his dialogue until you receive the healing gourd. This is mandatory. If you skip getting the gourd, you'll be unable to call for Kuro to open Genichiro's gate. This is far from the only forced dialogue. Fortunately, Sekiro has some finicky tricks we can use to hurry it along. Like combat, skipping through sentences has a rhythm. If you mindlessly mash, the pace is considerably slower than finding a more moderate, consistent pattern of strokes. In addition, removing subtitles allows us to exit dialogue using the start button, as long as we've obtained any key items revealed from the conversation. So where you'd initially expect mashing through Kuro's dialogue to be the most efficient, you've actually got 3 goals. Hope he's facing you, so the post-cutscene you don't have to wait for the turning animation for dialogue to begin. You want a more methodical, consistent rhythm of button presses to maximize dialogue's skip speed, and the moment you've got the gourd, you press start to exit, skipping the remainder of the conversation entirely. This might seem like a lot of fuss to save a few seconds, but that's speedrunning at its finest. That, and you'll be saving more like minutes by the end of this very chatty run. The rest of the tutorial is a very straightforward dash, with all mobility outside of grappling now enabled. Just make sure to grab a fistful of ash on the way before surrendering to Genichiro. Cutscene skip and grab hop your way out of the dilapidated temple to bum rush the chained ogre. Snag a safety ash along the way, in addition to a mandatory stealth sugar. We'll be using it immediately to both avoid alerting the enemies and the ogre itself. If you lock on and snuggle right up next to him, you can get a cheeky stealth strike to cut the fight in half. What follows has a dash of RNG, but can be greatly controlled by you with adept positioning and dodge timing. You always have time for 3 hits following the stealth blow. Your goal is to dodge attacks toward the rear. The more time this oaf spends spinning to face you, the more strikes you can get in before dodging again. He'll always stun after 9 hits, something you can use to your advantage to cancel an upcoming attack. Keep striking from behind while avoiding his grasp to enter Snake's Valley. Getting through the canyon unscathed is trickier than it may seem. To avoid initial detection, you must land on a specific rock. Then you need to get through the tunnel quickly to slide the wall unseen. You can mash the right stick to gyrate more quickly along, jumping forward when these rocks crumble off, or if you're particularly skilled, you can save a few seconds with extremely precise jumps across the chasm. However you make the trek over, you'll need to bait the snake and dash left to avoid. From there, you can easily grapple through the rest, then grab the Akko attack up sugar and an optional coin purse for safety, along with more ash en route to...
My name is Gyoubu Masataka Oniwa!
Mr. Masataka Oniwa is a deceptively high skill ceiling encounter that can make or break the early minutes of the run. There are 4 goals here. Prioritize deflections to build stagger and keep him locked in on you. Hit whenever possible to work towards stunning him, manipulate his AI to avoid running away, and work him as close as possible toward Tengu's temple. Deflections and hits are an obvious path to victory, while controlling the tempo is far more complex. After coming out on top of an exchange, Gyoubu often rides far away. This is dead time to avoid at all costs. You can instead disengage early and bait him into chasing you. If you deflect a dashing assault, he'll stop in his tracks. You have to do a balancing act of consistent, perfect deflections, attacks in between to stun, meter that aggression to prevent downtime, and do your best to point him toward Tengu's temple. Doing so gives you the shortest path possible to the mandatory chat and refusal afterward. Then you make the long sprint to the idol and increase your attack power with Gyoubu's memory. Next up, Blazing Bull. Grab more attack sugar along the way, do a jump from the far right to somehow avoid alerting these blind fools, and optionally kill this guy to avoid interference. Withstanding the bull's inferno is reliant on your execution as a matador. If you can sprint forward after Akkoing up to get the deflection, you're golden. Moving in a deliberate path KOs the guards, deflects an attack that forces the bull to submit for a moment, and places you right next to the head, which takes bonus damage. You can use this to stagger him before he recovers from the initial deflection. 3 more hits, then respond to his follow-up with another deflection. From here, your goal is to deflect and hit the head as much as possible. With the right RNG and precision, you'll stun him again and win in no time. On the flip side, if you miss that opening deflection, you not only lose out on key posture damage, Bull will now run wildly, wasting time and forcing you to withstand far more dangerous attacks. Practice makes perfect. And though I was rarely flawless, seeing progression on my consistency to searing this steak was satisfying. For a final speedy punch, Goomba Stomp to cancel his defeat animation for a faster finish. Scale the castle, don't get wooed, and choose from one of 2 skips. Running behind the castle, grapple up the window and use it to gain speed and leap onto a normally forbidden ledge. Or stay in front of the castle and time a sick aerial to just barely clear an invisible overhang. The latter saves around 10 seconds over the former, but it is significantly harder to execute with greater danger from the rooftop rabble. That's not to say the movement for the backside skip is easy. Getting the right angle and jump timing is quite challenging. However you choose to skip the dojo, it brings us to our rematch against Genichiro. We'll be returning his embarrassment of us in the tutorial to him tenfold. Rather than engage in a fair fight, make way for the lamp right at the doors, slash it twice, then after a brief pause, hop against the wall, leaning left midair, and rightward on the way down. With consistent execution, this setup is guaranteed to trap Genichiro. Facing slightly more than perpendicular away from him, you can use a dead angle to chop down his HP. However, the 5th hit of your combo will not connect. You can reset this combo by briefly holding forward to continue, or if you're bold, turn to him for the 5th hit, then back to the wall. Opting for the safer 4 hits, you'll need to do 6 rotations, then carefully line up your death blow with his back to the door, keeping him in place. Rinse and repeat to reach phase 3. While this setup is consistent, I found a lot of difficulty in executing it reliably due to user error. Similarly, I would sometimes mess up the rhythm of attacks, allowing him to escape. You'll also get unlucky if he dashes backward towards the end of a combo, signifying he'll leap up using arrows. You have to be very careful not to dodge and immediately attack again, as it uses a different angle that can also release him. This was a constant crux in my runs until the end. Fortunately, phase 3 is far easier. Open up with an attack up sugar. If you do this with no other inputs and then hold down halfway through, his opening thrust whiffs. Here we're doing the typical deflection and attack dance while praying for lightning. Reflecting lightning does far and away the most damage possible, but you're at the game's mercy to wield it. Some runs he spams it relentlessly, others, like my personal best, he was maddeningly stingy. The only notable difficulty here is you're missing the Kiri counters. Genichiro has a few different thrust attacks, forcing you to do a normal deflection or dodge. It's less scarier than it seems, especially since practice against the Sword Saint has you master his moveset a million times over. I hope you were taking copious notes on my dialogue tips because this is your first opportunity to really flex the technique. Speak with Kuro until you dissent, then cancel. Speak again until you receive the Immortal Severance text and cancel. Now interact with the shrine and immediately cancel, and finally Kuro, instant cancel. Take this opportunity to rest and use Genichiro's memory to upgrade attack while Kuro strolls across the room, then speak and cancel again. This is the cue to speak with Isshin about the Mortal Blade. You need to fully go through his opening dialogue and the follow-up on Immortal Severance, but once you discuss the Mortal Blade, cancel and teleport to the dilapidated temple. Chat and instant cancel with the sculptor twice to receive the Shinobi eccentric text. And breathe. We're finally done with dialogue, for now. Now we can finally learn the Makiri counter ahead of our battle with the Armored Warrior. We start by traveling to the Ashina Castle idol that is automatically obtained on killing Blazing Bull. In fact, you get a rested flag on the moment you defeat it, allowing you to teleport to the last idol if you so choose. En route to the Armored Warrior, grab the coin purse, and the Akko sugar, and more Akko sugar, and more Akko sugar. Pop some of your newfound candy, and best the iron bucket. There's nothing special here. Dodge and counter, or deflect, you'll get a light stun into a rapid attack to deflect for heavy posture damage that is particularly useful because it homes in on you and ends by flipping your positions, allowing you to control where he ends up. This is helpful for kicking him into the abyss. After lots of dialogue downtime between Geni and we waste little time jumping right into the folding screen monkeys. Use the stealth sugar just beforehand. Take a hard 180 dash into slash, 1 down. Grapple up and stealth blow, that's 2. Yank yourself down to the tree and quickly kill the third before it flees, then do a few quick grapples onto the purple monkey's roof for the final stealth blow. This is an easy to execute strategy on even a first attempt. Feel free to incognito annihilate the monkeys yourself. Now get the Mortal Blade and acquire the skill tree toward mid-air combat arts. This is an unsuspectingly powerful ability that increases the power of any art done mid-air, which is quite potent in combination with the absolutely busted Mortal Slash. That's the good news. The bad news is our next destination, the Gun Fort. Miyazaki realized that poison swamps wouldn't be as effective with Sekiro's mobility, so he made the air a toxic bullet fiesta. You can make use of our final stealth sugar to lighten the 50 caliber rain, but you'll still get dunked on no matter how well you path through. Say your prayers and grab the safety ash. Use the stealth sugar on this branch, grapple your way through the canyon, skip the mini-boss, drop down below the bridge, then grapple your way topside. If you survived, make a final mad dash and Akko up to take on the Centipede. Not much of a creepy crawler. That's actually not true, he is a creepy crawler. He literally crawls on the ground, and he's a fucking weirdo. You'll need to do a flying mortal draw to get the first slashes in on this Wolverine. Soaking a few hits to do so is okay, just deflect when the animation lock ends to close out the first half. Dash behind and jumping mortal again, where you could get a stun here from the right angle that lets you stun lock him to death, but I found it easy to miss as you can see. Regardless, it's easy enough to claim victory even with mistakes, albeit slower than I would have liked. Head outside and jump at a specific edge to survive the long fall to Snake River. Swimming straight toward the exit is free, grabbing an idol to return here later. This is your opportunity to optionally get your one and only prayer necklace. Afterward, we can take a spooky drop hugging the cliffs to a lower area. You can safely grapple to a tree above for a slower descent, or go full throttle for a last-minute grasp straight into the cave. At the end, we immediately hop left to dodge the snake and grapple past. Grab some divine confetti, and head onward to Snake Eyes. It might seem like you're going to be spotted running through this small hut, but as long as you hug near the right gunner, you can sprint by without full detection. This allows a stealth blow to cut the Snake Eyes bout in half. Simply Akko and spam the full jump mortal twice for an easy victory. It may seem as if we've been breezing through the midsection of the run, and you'd be right. Outside of the gun fort, this is the least threatening part of the run. We capitalize this cupcake second act with the Miss Noble. En route to it, we grab the supreme Yashariku attack sugar, snap seeds, then hop up at the bend of this branch to skip into this gag boss. Falling stealth blow, then jump mortal to dispel the mist. We grab another Yashariku sugar and take a precarious grapple drop into Mibu Village. Here we pick up an optional divine confetti and make our way to False Monk. With proper execution of a very precise strategy, this battle is neutered harder than any other. Hugging the left wall, you can avoid spawning Monk. Running out to the left side of this rock formation on the ground, we snap seed ×2 as we pass it, dash, snap one more time, then toss our Bounty of Ash to further yank the Monk backward. Our goal here is to backdash and leap forward with maximum momentum to get an instant KO. The more Ash you have, the more forgiving the timing is. I settled on getting 3 safety Ash to ensure this wasn't a deflating run killer, but note that you can make do with only 4, skipping the Ash right after the tutorial and the 2 at the beginning of the gun fort. After claiming effortless victory, we rest to get the idol flag, then retrieve the shelter stone and teleport back to said idol. Here we can use Monk's memory for attack power, obtain the upgraded Makiri counter, alongside an optional HP siphon deathblow upgrade. Cash in those coin purses for spirit emblems, and then make way to Ribbon Cave. Traverse these statues, grabbing an Akko sugar at the foot of one. Now you can kiss the easy second act goodbye, as we open up the final stretch of the run with one of Sekiro's most dreaded encounters. Though Guardian Ape is more on rails than you may expect. We Akko for the first phase and do a leaping double mortal draw, aiming as best we can at the head for bonus damage. Follow up with 2 hits, and we can begin the stagger loop. Wait until his stance fully resets, particularly keeping an eye on when his right arm settles. Hit him 5 times from here to make him fall again, pause briefly, then follow up with 2 hits. This puts us in the same state as before. Wait for him to fully rise, 5 hits, pause, 2 hits, repeat until victorious. As long as you don't attack too soon, it is 100% consistent if you follow this rhythm, and can be completed more quickly with bonus damage hits to the head. Once he grabs his head for phase 2, use the superpowered Yashariku attack sugar, allowing for 2 attacks the moment the HP bar appears, and then you wait. If the ape follows up with a scream, you can jump mortal once to cancel it. If he offers an opportunity for deflection, take it. Our goal here is to stop any screams, then put him in a position to use a jump mortal on his open neck wound. Deflecting perfectly will give you either a brief moment to punish the rear before deflecting the 5th hit for a stagger, or an immediate large slam that offers the same opportunity. Double jump mortal the wound for insane posture damage. Most of the time, this puts you in a position to nearly end the fight. If you didn't have to deal with a scream, you can end it with a 3rd jump mortal. If you did have to interrupt it though, you're gonna be fresh out of spirit emblems, so you have to pray for good luck. If he offers deflection opportunities, great. Don't count on it, however, as he'll often scream, backdash, do horizontal slashes requiring jumps, all time wasters you have to respect. Now I will admit there are more precise ways to control the tempo of the second phase. With stellar camera control allowing you to aim jump mortals, you can leap backward and aim a slash at the wound freely. If you can nail your 3 hits like the world record does, there's little to no RNG involved here. It's a high reward for pushing your skill ceiling to the limit. For myself, I am quite mediocre at aiming leaping combat arts, so I instead focus my practice efforts on getting consistent at dealing with all the facets of his kit instead. Once you fell the beast, claim your Lotus Prize and teleport to the last idol. You'll have gained a flag outside Ashina Castle. Here you can upgrade your attack with Monkey Memory, then grab a Yashariku sugar on the path to Daddy Dearest. Great Shinobi Owl, like Genichiro, was the bane of my existence throughout runs. This is because by far the fastest strategy relies on sandwiching this boulder of a man in a similar scenario to Genichiro. However, unlike him, Owl's opener is not consistent. He has 4 different openers that all need to be handled slightly differently to corner him. No matter how much I practiced and succeeded in consecutive attempts, I always seem to waffle in live runs, and this was my first significant failure in the run, dying on my first try. I grabbed the idol knowing of this possibility and fortunately did a much better job the second time around. The basic idea is to straddle the statue beside the door and use his opener to trap him. If you fail or get an attack that leaves him short, you do your best to dead angle and push him backward, ensuring you line up with his back to it, as he may kick and flip backward. However you manage it, the end goal is to look at the spot where the wall scroll meets the wood and slash away. Optimally, you use a Divine Confetti, which increases vitality damage dealt, leading a little more quickly to phase 2. Back off and avoid being stunned, then dash in and dodge forward to avoid the smoke. Repeat smashing the slash button to win. Once you have him in the corner, it's far easier than Genichiro. You're able to just mash away freely without any thought. Yet Owl takes the difficulty cake for the trouble of getting him to that point. I want to note that this is how the vast majority of runs all the way to the top times handle Owl, yet the world record holder Zark pulled out some insanely cool tech. Pop an Akko, then double jump mortal after dodging the smoke, do some spooky deflections and wait for more smoke, then double jump mortal for the kill. Opting for this bold strategy net 10 seconds saved. I really admire the lengths top runners push things to save time. For me, running a 24-hour gauntlet, I stuck to the standard technique and sucked at even that. Your reward for your Herculean efforts is a final rousing round of dialogue. Rest to move Emma downstairs, use Owl's memory, then speak with Kuro. Cancel the first, speak until you receive the fragrant flower note in Paige's diary for the second and third, cancel the fourth, and speak a fifth time until receiving Okami's ancient text. Now speak to Emma 3 times, canceling all immediately to receive the Immortal Severance scrap, speak to Kuro a final time and cancel, then light the shrine. Cancel after the cutscene and head for the wedding cave. Ascend in the hut from the outside and make your way to True Monk. This is, without question, my choice for the second hardest fight in the run. While there are consistent setups to deal hefty damage, you have to master the monk's wide move pool to perfectly deflect and counter everything. Partial deflections aren't gonna fly. Due to your paltry posture, a single slip-up spells death. You open with a Yashiriku Sugar and double jump mortal. Spam R1 until countered, then follow up on what you're given. While short, this phase is extremely RNG heavy. Sometimes Monk will offer great attacks that deflect and build posture quickly. Equally often, the Monk will animation cancel and backdash constantly, forcing you to waste time with repetitive disengages. The move pool in this phase is also the most expansive you'll deal with. I spent nearly 2 hours practicing to feel confident in my ability to reliably handle it all. The second phase, on the other hand, is a nothing burger, as you can grapple up and stealth blow. Now use that optional confetti we picked up in Mibu Village for extra oomph, along with the standard Yash Sugar. When you see the right hand move forward, do a single jump mortal, and prepare to deflect the quintuple whirlwind. This is tricky because there is a slight delay between the second and third hit. Practicing handling this is vital to make short work of this phase, as you dodge the fifth hit and get a single jump mortal in. I rarely screwed this up, but due to my nerves on my good time, overthought the timing and paid the price for it. This cost me a slow repeat of phase 1 with an extra Akko that we picked up, then I used a Yash Sugar intended for later. This was deceptively the biggest time loss of the run. Fortunately, I didn't choke the second time around, and capitalized on the spin to win. From here, you need to watch out for 3 possible attacks: a fast slam down, a slower side swipe that has multiple combo routes, or the parasitic terror spray. The third is the best to get, as you can dash behind and jump mortal. You must deflect or dodge the other 2, or it's instant death. With this, we've cleared the last major hurdle to the finale, as the next section is more of a formality. At least for my skill level. Before we get there, we need to swim through Lightning Lake. What I'm about to show you is a helpful skip for any playthrough. Dash swim 3 times to reach this rock, take a momentary pause, then dive. The lightning should hit the rock, and if you dash through the same path I take here, the next lightning will be blocked by the big fish. This gives you unscathed early access to the underwater cave. This is valuable because the dodge timing from the fish is really tricky. You have to wait until the red Q appears, and then hard dash to the side. If you're in any animation when it goes off, you will not be able to dash in time. Having your revive available to make an error here is a nice cushion that's unavailable if you're struck by lightning, so the fish interception is a boon in more ways than merely time. Rest to regain HP and revives, and use Monk's Memory if you didn't already take the earlier idol like my shaky self, and move onward to the penultimate encounter, Divine Dragon. If there's a single strategy that differs the most from the world record in my run, it's here. I opted for the traditional way of fighting the dragon, outside of using Divine Confetti to more quickly cut down the rabble in 4 hits rather than 5. The sooner they die, the sooner the rest spawn, allowing you to whirligig wham into phase 2. Here you have the option of going ham with 5 jump mortals, but it requires very precise movement that can backfire greatly if you misplay. And that's on top of RNG from the dragon to get the right moves to manipulate. I had intended to use Anako to cut the lightning required from 6 to 5, but my error at the True Monk made it a better use there. I played the fight quite safe as a result, ending it a little slowly without any notable errors. Because quite honestly, none of these time losses mattered. A death or two, or playing it safe on Dragon, lost me a few minutes maybe, but it all paled in comparison to the onslaught of failure I had experienced to this point in the finale. All I needed was a one-shot of the final boss to reach a respectable time. Easier said than done. Sword Saint Isshin is hands down one of the hardest bosses I've faced in any game. That is taking into account endgame tools and stats. Here, you are within a one-shot of nearly every attack, must nail every perfect deflection or get staggered into instant death, and have paltry power that pales in comparison to those who face Lady Butterfly, Headless Ape, Father Owl, Demon of Hatred, and farm additional attack power from the experience exchange. You're able to remedy your lack of attack by using the overpowered Jump Mortal in combination with the powerful attack Sugars to accelerate the fight, but this requires insane reaction speed, technique, timing, and strange dead angles to pull off. And I absolutely sucked at it. I'd love to dress it up with excuses, but it's 100% skill issue. What I needed was consistency. It didn't matter if the fight took an extra 30 seconds, all I needed was a reliable strategy to ensure I could win in a single attempt. If I could manage that, I knew even with mistakes elsewhere, I'd secure a respectable time. And this was it. I had made a handful of regrettable errors and played some segments very safe, but I made it to Isshin clocked under 50 minutes. With palms sweaty, knees weak, arms heavy, I entered the finale with Divine Confetti and Anako Sugar, which already put me on my back foot for using Anako over the Yashiriku I used on my repeat True Monk battle. Using Anako instead meant Genichiro's error margin increased. Though you would think after, and I mean this, I put in over 100 practice attempts against this first phase, I'd flawlessly pass with ease. Sure, in practice. In reality, the nerves made my brain spaghetti in a blender. I whiffed, committing to an R1 that would have interrupted his attack, tried to deflect at the same time, and got animation locked into a mortal draw. Okay, don't panic. I still have one revive available for the true test. Oh. Let's talk about my strategy here. You can open Genichiro with a gourd to bait a jumping thrust, but I opted for posture damage during his discount mortal draw. From here, you spam R1 until he puts something forward that you have to counter. If he does, take any Makiri counters and Goombas where possible. If he does his Wombo combo, jump mortal to cancel it. Normally, you wouldn't spend spirit emblems here, but I use them so infrequently the rest of the fight, it's worth the time save. The Isshin opener revolves around hitting him, typically twice, then countering with a scripted response. If he does 2 slashes, you deflect 1 or both. If only 1, follow up with an attack to prevent being hit. If he stomps, you deflect. Optionally get 1 attack in if your reaction is fast enough, then Makiri counter. The tricky part is this stomp is ever so slightly slower than the 2 slashes, meaning if you default to muscle memory instead of reaction, this will catch you, and as you saw, due to our lack of posture, that's deadly. Less common follow-ups include a backstep into wind slashes, which you can get 2 attacks, angle dodge, then get further hits in, a backstep into drawing slash that you can quickly get a fast reaction attack, deflect, and then Goomba, or just dodge and walk left, and then finally the Ichimonji double, which you can easily sidestep and get in free hits. He does have other attacks, but as long as you stay engaged with him, you'll never see them. These first 2 phases are basically on rails. Keep attacking, counter the follow-ups with your script, and you make it safely and swiftly to the real challenge. Every single thing accomplished until now has merely been a warm-up to the supreme perfection demanded by one of, if not the single hardest phases in FromSoft history. With one of the most diverse move pools in the game, blistering speed to implement it, gargantuan attack range, and the power to make a single poor deflection death, Isshin with the Glock cleans my clock. My best run to this point of 1 hour and 35 seconds suffered not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 deaths here. I stood against the Emperor of Difficulty with a win record dwarfed tenfold by the Titan before me. And thanks to my blunders against the easier interlude, I needed to be unequivocally flawless. The sole bright spot of suffering countless defeats is studying my mistakes. I learned that, like his initial phase, you can limit his offensive might by keeping pressure on him. Doing so, you create a loop. Attack twice and prepare to respond. If he slashes with the sword, deflect it. If he does the backward leaping slash, dodge forward. And if he rears for the Whirlwind Slash, get a jump mortal in to safely interrupt the charge with hefty damage. You will get one of these 3 actions 95% of the time as long as you continue to attack twice with limited gaps. You do actually want to pause briefly after the sword deflection, however, as he can opt for a leap backward. This is equally true during your 2 attacks, where you must not mash so you can read and dodge forward as necessary. If this seems like a simple strategy to execute, trust me when I say the reaction speed I built here was forged over hours of failure. It is all too easy to fall into muscle memory doing your 2 attacks, assuming it's always safe, and get killed by a backdash cancel. If you autopilot the deflections, you will whiff on the rare occasions he chooses to go off script. And if your timing is off in the slightest, you're dead. One boon of consistency is the phase transition. You can safely get in 2 hits, unlock and pause ever so slightly, then dodge to the right to iframe the stun. Yashariku Sugar up, then R1 spam. You can use a jump mortal here, but I found the animation lock after gave him greater control to use any move he desired instead of forcing him to deflect and start the loop. With everything on the line, he pulled no punches. I exercised proper patience after deflecting the first slash, yet I hesitated to dodge the backdash. Without practice, I 100% would have dodged forward late and fell victim to its reach. Instead, I held the line with another deflection. This meant dealing with the follow-up rifle spam, which I wisely chose to dash around instead of deflect or dodge, and thrusted the Makiri counter. With this reset, I could now conduct the loop. 2 hits and a deflect, he scrambles backward, dodging the follow-up attacks. No matter, I know from experience you can dash forward and do it again. He gives a Whirlwind Slash, allowing a jump mortal to push him near the end. Wait for the animation lock, and deflect. He tries to catch me off guard with the animation cancel backdash, but I answered the call. A few deflect loops, and we did it. Now let's do it again and pray for lightning. Like in Ichiro's first battle, Isshin can now summon lightning, you can reflect. His move pool is otherwise the same, so is our strategy in turn. Continue pressuring him into the loop, and reflect as much lightning as your health can bear. A few rounds of looping, and 2 lightnings bring things close to the brink, with a final whirlwind charge giving me a window to end it with a full mortal draw. Words cannot express the satisfaction I felt as Isshin dropped to his knees and submitted to me. All the blood, sweat, and tears Sekiro and I expended over 24 grueling hours of crushing defeat was all for this moment. We run to Kuro and end the run by severing immortality. As I locked in my time and the credits rolled, my screams of victory echoed throughout the house. No longer was I shackled, a victim of the Sword Saint. For once, when he pulled out the spear, it was Isshin that heard boss music. I cannot express how brutally this run smacked me senseless. Yet I feel a masochistic sense of pride that I rolled with the punches and finished swinging for the fences. My time is good for around the halfway mark of the leaderboard. Shout out to the insanely skilled Sekiro speedrunners who stuck with this category long enough to push every ounce of its tech to the utmost mastery. As for me, I am done. I signed on for a new gig as a company man. Next time, I'll look to prove I'm the greatest asset this side of the universe as we race solo to 1,000 quota. Subscribe to stay tuned, leave a like if you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next video.